Today on Near Mint Condition, who is the best character that Stan Lee ever came up with? Who is the best leader the X-Men has ever seen? And who is in fact the greatest X-Man?
Jubilee.
No! I mean, Jubilee's great. Cyclops.
Oh, God.
So today we're going to talk about the worst character ever, the dick of the X-Men, Cyclops.
You have anything to add to that, Tina?
I fucking hate Cyclops. What are you talking about?
Worst.
Is it because he reminds you of, like, he's a one-eye, so it reminds you of a one-eye trouser, and you're a lesbian and
He
you
is a giant
penises?
So today...
No. He is white bread, cheating.
He is the most offensive character in the video games he is, too. He's the cheapest one.
He's the Donald Trump of
Wow.
X-Men.
Ooh, he's totally a Republican.
Oh, he's totally Republican. He's white bread, you know.
Entitled.
Republican.
I don't know that I want to do this episode. So today, we come in defense of Cyclops. I've come in defense of Cyclops. Cyclops is my favorite character, has been my favorite character ever since I started reading comics in the 80s. Cyclops is the tragic character in a lot of ways of the X-Men, right? He is the only X-Man who can't control his powers. We're starting with like Giant Size X-Men #1. We're kind of ignoring the first 100 issues.
The first
of X-Men.
15 years of X-Men.
Because I mean, he's the leader of the X-Men. He pines after Jean Grey.
But it isn't until Chris Claremont takes over that he actually gets developed into a
What
character.
it kind of is
so,
now.
So, if you're not familiar with Giant Size X-Men #1, basically that's where they introduced Wolverine and Storm and all of these characters as X-Men for the first time. And so you come back and like it's X-Men '94.
X-Men '94.
The original X-Men.
Okay.
And Professor X is like, oh, this is gonna be so great, and then all of a sudden, Angel comes in like, well, we're leaving, and we're all leaving. All us old folks. You've got new X-Men. You don't need us anymore. We've graduated. We're good.
Yeah. So
And-
Polaris, Havoc, Angel, Beast, Iceman.
Right.
Peace.
And so, but
Iceman
but
gave
nobody
us one.
talked to Cyclops about this,
No.
and he's like, wait, what? And so there's this great scene in that issue where he's like, I can't live a normal life. I can't control these horrific, cursed optic blasts.
It's true. Optic blast, because he has
Right.
the glasses that like
Right.
you have to keep
And-
on his face.
Exactly. And so he decides to stay because he doesn't know what else he can do. So then, there's the whole arc of, Dark Phoenix and everything coming back. So, he and Jean hook up. She becomes Dark Phoenix. But all of that is with him kind of reacting to things, right? Because it's all about Jean Grey. It's all about Phoenix. There is the idea that he is getting ready to sacrifice. They're going out in a blaze of glory. If this is the end of the world, at least we're here together, right? Then she sacrifices herself. And for a long time, then you've got kind of Scott Summers just...
Drinking.
Not
Bullshit! He was bouncing back with that blonde. Lee Forrester.
Oh,
Yeah.
oh yeah, I
different
forgot
one.
about
But
her.
she was dead. She was dead. Jean was dead. Turns out, look at this nice lady who's piloting my aircraft in Alaska. She looks a lot like Jean, but she can't be Jean.
Uncanny X-Men
Maybe
168.
she's Jean. He's really confused. He doesn't understand what's going on. But he understands he's attracted to this lady, and she's attracted to him. So they get together. That, of course, Madeline Pryor, who, as we all know, turned out to be a clone of Jean Grey. He leaves the team for a while to go stay with Madeline. Mastermind comes back and makes everybody think Dark Phoenix is back. Cyclops is the only one who understands what's going on, programs the Danger Room, pulls all the X-Men in, defeats all of the other X-Men, and then, figures out what's going on. And it's this great scene where it's like, here is Cyclops at his best. You know, he's
It's also the
fighting
issue
all
where
the
they get
X-Men
married.
with broken ribs. It's the issue where he and Madeline, where he finally lets Jean go, and they get married.
Okay.
Then it comes to X-Men 201, where Storm and Cyclops fight for leadership. And his head's not in the game.
At this point, Storm is also powerless because she
Right.
got her powers taken away by Forge.
They fight in the Danger Room. She wins by just a long shot because his head's not in the game. You know, the whole time he's got like 50,000 thought balloons around him. You know,
And follows taxes.
Yeah.
He
Yellow.
has 99 problems and bitches are one.
Yellow panels telling you everything that he should have done better. You know,
Who he's
classic,
next gonna screw.
classic Chris Claremont style.
Over.
But the thing
Again.
about that, so he loses this fight. He leaves the X-Men, and it's heartbreaking because yes, he's married, and yes, he's now got a baby. But frankly, those things are secondary to him. The X-Men is his life, and now everyone expects that he would want to go be with his wife and son, but he doesn't really know how. He doesn't know how to be a
He
civilian.
doesn't know how to be.
Well, he tries.
He does try. Until I brought this just for this. So, X Factor, right?
Love X Factor.
We're gonna bring back the original X-Men. How do we do that? Jean Grey's dead. Well, not really. Turns out Phoenix was a separate entity.
Real Jean Grey was underwater the entire time.
Yeah, so the hardest thing about this, right? You've got this, he finds out, oh, look at this. This is old. So, he finds out, he's there in the kitchen with Madeline. He's like, oh, I'm leaving. Adios.
Dick.
Pretty much as soon as Angel calls
And
him
then-
and says, hey, Jean's back. Jean, Madeline who? Peace!
Right, and so he just
Airplane.
shows up.
Child support, whatever.
And so he goes, he meets Jean. He can't tell her about Madeline because he just doesn't know how to do it. But he just leaves. He just leaves Madeline and the baby. And that translates into the huge saga, with Madeline becoming the Goblin Queen. And that goes into Inferno, where she's going to sacrifice the baby because Scott done her wrong. Mr. Sinister orchestrated all of the horrible events of Scott's childhood. Scott's parents died. They didn't really die, but he and his brother get pushed out of an airplane. They
That's where
only have one parachute. He hits his head, and that's why he can't control his optic blast. He's got brain damage. Turns out, so he was in an orphanage that was run by Mr. Sinister. Sinister is the one who put all these mental blocks in place so he can't control his powers. Sinister is the one who cloned Jean Grey. And Scott realizes essentially, you can't. He has to make a choice. He chooses Jean. And then Madeline self-destructs and they go fight Sinister. And this is the first time that he has one of his giant optic blast moments where he blasts Sinister to smithereens, never to be
Mega.
seen again. He and Jean have a nice little span where they're raising little Christopher at this point, because they aren't calling him Nathan. Apocalypse comes in and yada yada yada.
I want your baby.
Yeah, he
love-
and Sinister and blah blah blah, and so Nathan, little baby, gets infected with the techno-organic virus and sent to the future. He gives up his son
to save him.
To save him. Fast forwarding past the Jim Lee, past the '90s era, into the Grant Morrison era, when you've got Cyclops and Phoenix happily married now. Maybe not so happily. Things are not going all that great.
Emma Frost.
They start
starts
an affair.
telepathic counseling sessions that turn into
It's never a good idea to go to a
Telepathic.
man's psyche.
basically a
It's
telepathic
thought
affair.
cheating, basically.
Yeah, no, it's absolutely thought cheating. But the thing about that is, horrible.
Yeah, when you watch porn and you're jerking off, thought cheating. Makes sense. Don't think about it like that.
So, but as these stories go, Jean dies again because she's Jean
Convenient.
Grey.
Because comics.
But also
Soap opera.
basically blesses the relationship between Emma Frost and Cyclops. So then you've got this great run in Grant Morrison and in Joss Whedon's Astonishing X-Men, where you get back
It's a
to
good book.
you get back to Cyclops the leader, but at this point it's Cyclops the leader with a few years under his belt. Him going from we want to peacefully coexist with humans to this, and this is a big sea change because early Cyclops is we want
Matt
to
Fraction's run.
Yeah, we want to live peacefully with humans, have them, interact with them and just be normal folk. Whereas by the time you get to Matt Fraction's run and the Utopia, the San Francisco Utopia era, it's, you know what? Fuck all you people. We're going to be mutants over here. Leave us alone, and we'll leave you alone. We're good with that. And just the kind of sea change in his view after so many years of fighting the good fight for mutants. It's like, I'm just tired of trying to do this equality business. Let's just call a spade, and we're going to be over here. Y'all leave us alone.
Okay.
So
Reminded
then,
me a lot of Jonestown.
oh yeah.
Drink the Kool-Aid.
Without the flavor aid. Alright, so then, after that comes the Phoenix Force that's coming to Earth, and then it takes over Cyclops. He was one of the Phoenix Five. Cyclops gets corrupted by this dark force and becomes the Dark Phoenix. And unfortunately, that's where Xavier gets killed.
And I didn't mean to kill Professor X. That I was under the influence of Dark Phoenix, but
I'm still
if that's the price we have to pay for what we've got now, I'd do it again. And I think that's a great, and even though that comes in that Avengers versus X-Men Consequences series, which is not great.
No, it wasn't.
But there is issue 2 of that series is the conversation between Wolverine and Cyclops, where he's basically saying, "I would do it all again. In 10 years, you'll see kids wearing shirts that say Cyclops was right." Then he goes and, kind of becomes a quasi-Magneto character leading his own team of X-Men who are outside the law, like the X-Men are supposed to be.
Yeah.
And then something with dying and Secret Wars.
Let's talk about our favorite Cyclops moments.
Some of this Astonishing X-Men stuff. There's a really cool Cyclops story where he is turning himself in. They're in Break
World.
You talked about Emma Frost and Cyclops being a great team together, right? So, like, Emma Frost connects with via telekinesis and, with Cyclops. And they have this... telepathy. What did I say? Telekinesis. Telepathy. So, they can hear all these also nasty plans that are going on. And so, he's right in front of Kroon, and he's just he's right there in his face. And Kroon says, what does Kroon say? Something like,
What are the lies?
What are the lies have you told? And he has this look on his face, just this nasty smile. And, point blank, right here in his face, he's like, Optic Blast! Optic Blast!
Well, he frees all the X-Men. They're all caught, and, he frees them with his Optic Blast.
And then, at the very end, he says a really cool quote. He says, straight from X-Men #1, he says... To me, my X-Men. It was really cool how it was portrayed. And, so, Cyclops can be a dick, but there's occasionally he has his tactical moments where he does a good job.
Tina? Favorite Cyclops moment?
X Factor 43, I believe it was.
Judgment War? Yeah, that's one of the Judgment Wars.
I know where you're going.
When the Celestial, what's that? Oh, that's an ant. Oh no, I didn't see that. Squish.
He looks up and he's like, oh, what a stupid way to die. Because he's about to get stoned. My favorite moment was Endgame, because that is one of my favorite X-Men stories. X-Factor stories. Chris Claremont, Jim Lee, Will Spertasio. So in Endgame, you were talking about, his son gets captured by Apocalypse. Turns out ship belongs to Apocalypse, so Apocalypse takes it back. Apocalypse gathers this new group of mutants called the Dark Riders, and they're going to take out X-Factor one by one. So it's this really cool scene of him prepping them, and he was like, how would you take out Jean Grey? How would you take out Cyclops? So they get all sent to the moon, and they're fighting the Dark Riders, and eventually they fight Apocalypse. And Apocalypse becomes this huge motherfucker, right?
Just like in the video games.
He becomes huge. And there's a couple lines in there that really, really stuck with me. One of them was, of course, the line where Cyclops is he's looking around at the moon and he figures out maybe Apocalypse created the thing that killed Jean. The machine that killed Jean. Because when she killed herself as the Phoenix, it blew her up. So, there's a moment where Cyclops has had enough. And he says a quote that I will never forget. It's a beautiful quote. It's true. He says, they say the eyes are windows to the soul. So I opened mine wide and gave Apocalypse a view of mine and blows the living fuck out of Apocalypse.
Mega optic blast.
And not just out of it doesn't just, it comes out of every fucking pore in his body, this optic blast, and destroys Apocalypse. And that is that Cyclops was he owned that. He owned that issue.
Let's be honest, every best Cyclops moment is when he's letting go of an optic blast. So apparently, people don't like Cyclops. I like Cyclops. I think he's the greatest character ever.
Jubilee!
Tell us what you think below, subscribe, and thanks again.
Optic blast.
Because the thing is, Scott was kind of the upright, white bread moral compass.
And he's the
X-Men.
Christian Leitner of the X-Men.
Oh,
And
God.
so
I hate you so much.